Hey everyone, welcome back to video number 7 of how I built an LLM-powered agent to help with all my content publishing. This is video number 7. So last video we walked through the ingest Lambda. That's the one that takes anything that's been added to S3 and puts it in my tracker, which is DynamoDB, single source of truth. In this one, we are going to walk through what the generation agent does. And this is one of the cooler ones for me. I mean, it really helps kind of streamline a lot of stuff for me. But we're going to talk on the trigger, the logic, and what the end state is. So the trigger for this one for right now is uh, being triggered, at least for this MVP and for this video. I'm going to invoke the Lambda myself. It's going to run on a schedule. So every morning, EventBridge will trigger and invoke the generate Lambda so that it takes the files and generates the files that it needs to generate, which it's going to be a blog post, a YouTube description, and a LinkedIn post, all in Markdown format. So it's not automated because like the ingest Lambda was because it could create a race condition. I don't always know how many files I'll be uploading to S3 for each one of these content pieces. So if I automated it, every time that the ingest Lambda would run, it could trigger the generate Lambda with each successive file as each one successfully uploads. So in order to kind of stop a race condition, I said, nope, it's going to be on a schedule. The beauty of reason for all this is, like I've mentioned, I bulk record. So I don't need everything ready right away. I'm going to do a whole bunch of recordings now, edit those recordings, and then I upload those. The workflow is I'm record all this on OBS, upload it to Riverside, edit it on Riverside, export out of Riverside the video, the transcript, and whatever show notes that Riverside has. And that's what you see here in this little test scenario. So once in this case, we've got all three up in S3. I'll go ahead and invoke the Lambda so we can see what happens. Okay, so I just invoked the Lambda. Let's see if I refresh S3, what happens here. And successfully now we've got couple more files in here. We've got the ghost, this is going to be the blog post that's going to go on ghost. This is my LinkedIn post, and here is my YouTube description. We're going to get into how that actually happened here in a second, but now that takes an immense amount of work off of my plate. I already have everything. All this was generated off the transcript and show notes that were in there originally. So let's take a look at the logic and walk through how this all works. Okay, so here we are in VS Code. I'm going to take a look at the generate Lambda. So I'm going to come into my publishing, generate, that's where my Lambda is. And here's my generate Lambda. As you can see, it's almost 200 lines of code here. Nothing is hard coded. We'll talk on that here in a minute. Just like walk through on the constructs, when I talked on that, this is using a construct for the reusable Lambda that I created. So it knows which values are needed, and it also has all the permissions that it needs. Going through here, we see that it's going to look through and it's going to find all the content that is labeled ingested in DynamoDB and go through all this logic to generate the 3 additional files that we saw. Here I also declare what the model is, which I declared as Nova Pro. That's good enough for what I needed to do. I don't need anything fancier than that or any more expensive than it. And when it's all said and done and it runs all this code, it's going to go into DynamoDB and it's going to declare that the status is ready for review. So now I go into DynamoDB, see which files are ready to review, open up my file explorer on my computer, navigate to those files and edit them, make sure that they match what I need from them. Now, what does the prompt look like for all this? So the Lambda itself does call this prompt file. And what's cool is when my first version of this, the prompt was part of the Lambda. I said, this is way too busy. The Lambda was way too long. So I broke out the prompt out of the Lambda so that it's easier to edit. And then I said, you know what, this is still a little too tedious. So the way it works now is, yes, there's a prompt here. It's part of my CDK. But what this does is it takes this prompt and it loads it into Parameter Store. And I'll show that here in a minute. But this prompt then gets loaded into Parameter Store. And what that helps me do is if I ever need to update this prompt, I just have to go into Parameter Store, update it there, and now my whole application is updated. Now that means now there's drift between what's in AWS and what's in my CDK. But the big thing that I wanted was I didn't want to have to redeploy my stack just because I did a minor change to my prompt. But if you can see here in this prompt, I tell it, exactly what's going to be happening here. It's going to be getting show notes, a full transcript. I want it to output those three things that I just meant, what the requirements for each one of those different types of posts, and then to publish those three files and post them to S3 in the same content ID. Now let's head back to AWS so we can see what that parameter store looks like. Okay, so here we are in AWS Parameter Store. This one is I take all those values and I load anything that could be updated regularly, but I don't want to have to redeploy the whole freaking stack to update this. I put it as a parameter. So here's that generate prompt that I just walked you through on that file. It got loaded as a default. If I wanted to edit this, I can just click edit, change what I need to change, and that's the end of it. I don't need to do any more past that. So the end state that it gives me gives me those three additional S3 files. It updates DynamoDB accordingly, and it gets it all ready for human review. That is one of the bigger, heavier lifts for me if I had to do that all by hand. Even if I did prompts myself using Claude or anything, it would take me forever. Right now, I can bulk record, drop all those things S3, ingest those into DynamoDB. I go through there, check all the ones that are ready now to be generated, and then I can just work in it on my own time. But everything's 90% of the work's already done. All I've got to go in is change small dog to puppy. The way to even improve this more is if I gave it an example of my writing so that it knew, hey, do this in my voice. But I can just simply tell it, hey, do it in the same voice as the transcript that you see. And that'll be the next step. Right now, it doesn't do that, but huge time saver. But from here, next one will be the publishing agent code walkthrough. So I'm going to go through publishing agent and how the logic and all that works there. So see you at the next video.